residents in the clear, or are they? A war of words erupted between Bahamar's major stakeholders and Prime Minister Perry Christie hopeful in a winter opening for Bahamar. We've got those stories and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Krishna Virgil, and this is the Tribune's Top 5. Following months of concern over the 2012 Rubis gasoline leak, the health minister has declared that residents were never in any real danger.
Health Minister Dr. Perry Gomez on Monday said Marathon residents were never exposed to dangerous levels of contaminants after government-administered environmental and medical tests revealed that no significant detectable levels of contaminants were discovered in the area's well water. The findings presented by Dr. Gomez were determined through assessments carried out by independent toxicology expert Dr. Rick Vanderwert. According to Dr. Vanderwert, preliminary findings from the health risk assessments carried out on 223 persons in or around the Marathon area concluded that at this time there were no long-term health effects detected. Dr. Gomez acknowledged the turmoil the Marathon fuel leak has caused the entire country. He indicated that through the ordeal, the government has developed the necessary protocols to protect against similar occurrences in the future. However, Marathon residents have rejected the all clear for the constituency, with activists saying the report has provided no comfort to the embattled community. Justice for Marathon spokesperson Latoya Hanna said the government's announcement angered residents at a Monday town meeting, some of whom have been unable to get testing for immobile family members and have yet to receive their own results. She said the declaration that residents were never exposed to dangerous levels of contaminants was concerning, given that at least one family was asked to do further testing at their own cost. Prime Minister Perry Christie moved to clarify reports that he was nearly an hour late for a briefing with Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis on Monday. Speaking to reporters on Thursday, Mr. Christie suggested that it was Dr. Minnis who had been uncooperative in scheduling the briefing earlier in the week to discuss the status of Bahamar after it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Mr. Christie said Dr. Minnis had some serious difficulties within his own party regarding his credibility, adding, quote, "He has to fight his way through that, and I understand that. Whatever advantage he can get out of saying what he is saying, then fine," end quote. On Monday, Dr. Minnis said he left office with the Prime Minister extremely upset after Mr. Christie showed up nearly an hour late for a meeting scheduled for 10 a.m. While the Prime Minister admitted that he received a letter from Dr. Minnis requesting a 10 a.m. meeting, he said he advised the F&M leader that he would not be available at that time because Cabinet was set to meet at the same time. Acting Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis at the time had convened Cabinet as Mr. Christie was in Barbados on official business. "When I first invited the leader of the opposition to come to my office, he agreed," Mr. Christie said. He continued, "He asked me how many people should come with him. He said he would want to have his deputy come. I said, no problem, bring your deputy, and if you can't find your deputy, bring one other. He then calls me back to say he needs to consult. When I arrived from Barbados, he sent me a letter saying he wants to come in for consultation at 10 a.m. on Monday. I immediately had my office call his office to say that Cabinet had been called into session in my absence by the Deputy Prime Minister for 10 a.m. on Monday. His office told my office that was the only time he could meet, and then asked to speak with him. They said he was unavailable and that he would call me back. He didn't." Mr. Christie said he had planned to break from Cabinet at 11 a.m., but he received a call from his secretary who said the Killarney MP was at his office, accompanied by a delegation of several persons. This included F&M Chairman Michael Pintard, along with several F&M senators and members of Parliament. Mr. Christie said, quote, "That is not a constitutional consultation. I have done it so many times with former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham when I, as leader of the opposition, would go into that office." Mr. Christie said he arrived at around 10:33 a.m. to see Dr. Minnis and his contingent storming out of the building. At that time, he said he returned to Cabinet.
The challenges plaguing Bahamar this week sparked a verbal battle between Prime Minister Perry Christie, the resort's developer, and its general contractor.
Bahamar on Monday night slammed the government for concocting a sideshow for its own purposes after the Christie administration accused the resort of being slow to provide necessary information, thus delaying salary payments to the resort's employees. The resort also questioned why the Christie administration was not in support of the resort's developer, Sarkis Ismailian, who has been victimized, they said, by the resort's general contractor, China State Construction America, adding that the government's actions have sown doubt about the project's future. The controversy came after the government announced that the resort staff would be paid. However, according to published reports, the government had previously said it had paid the employees last Friday. Hours later, Bahamar denied the government's assertion, stressing that the resort turned over the relevant documents last week, only to be subjected to repeated requests for more information. The resort's statement said, quote, "Each time Bahamar has provided as quickly as possible the requested information. Bahamar finds it disgraceful that the salaries due Bahamar employees have not yet been paid. Bahamar was fully prepared to pay these salaries in a timely manner, having received approval from the U.S. court under Chapter 11 to do so. The government, however, saw it fit, apparently for its own reasons, to participate in the obstruction of this process and has to date been unable to deliver on its promise regarding Bahamar citizens. One truly has to wonder why the government is not fully supporting the one investor, the project's developer, which along with the people of the Bahamas have been victimized by the repeated failures of the general contractor to complete construction on schedule and as promised. The government's behavior, simply put, has sown confusion and doubt about the future of Bahamar," end quote. Prime Minister Perry Christie shot back, saying he had concerns over the mental health of Bahamar's developer, Mr. Ismailian. In a statement issued shortly before midnight on Monday, Mr. Christie first said that this was a time when rationality and cool heads were required, before going on to say that he had grave concerns for the state of Mr. Ismailian's mind. According to the Prime Minister, he was disappointed in both the intemperate tone and incorrect content of Bahamar's press statement, which was issued. CCA struck back at Bahamar, saying the resort had reached bankruptcy filings because it failed to secure adequate financing and its mismanagement of the design of the resort project. The nation's chief on Tuesday night said he has set a date to hold mediated discussions this weekend at a mutually agreed location with Bahamar executives, China State Construction, and the China Export-Import Bank. In a statement, Mr. Christie urged Bahamar to immediately agree to the invitation. This came hours after the Supreme Court accepted an adjournment request by Bahamar's legal team into a hearing on whether the court will ratify a U.S. bankruptcy court's approval to allow the resort to access debtor-in-possession financing as part of its Chapter 11 filing last week. This new round of discussions, Mr. Christie said, will convene on an urgent basis with a view to developing a way forward that would see construction at the West Bay Street property resume immediately. Mr. Christie said, despite the events of the last 8 days, which have seen the government, the resort, and its general contractor bicker in the press, he has accepted the request by all parties to mediate negotiations. Mr. Christie said there is no question that the best thing for the country and for the Bahamian people is for Bahamar to open successfully and swiftly so that the country can benefit from the economic activity and jobs the resort will create.
The nation's chief said he's hopeful that the $3.5 billion mega resort Bahamar will be open just in time for the winter tourist season.
Prime Minister Perry Christie said on Thursday that he was optimistic that Bahamar developers, China Construction America, and the Export-Import Bank of China will reach a resolution on their issues, allowing the $3.5 billion project to reach completion to hopefully get the resort open for the winter tourist season in November. However, speaking to reporters, Mr. Christie said whether the ongoing situation reached an improved state before the next Supreme Court date into Bahamar's U.S. bankruptcy filing relied heavily on the parties involved. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court set down the Bahamar matter until July 20th, with an in-chambers status hearing set for July 14th. The matter was adjourned so all sides could get back to the negotiating table. Mr. Christie said as the resort is more than 95% finished, with just $300 million needed for total completion, it was now more important than ever to go back to the negotiating table. He added that as the Export-Import Bank of China requested that he mediate the discussions, he was hopeful that he could get all parties to agree on a way forward.
As you kick back to enjoy the Independence holiday, join us at our website at www.tribune242.com. Like us on Facebook, the Tribune News Network. Send us a tweet at Tribune242 or subscribe to our YouTube page, Tribune242. Happy Independence, Bahamas.